Am I the a-hole for telling my mom she could hold her grandchild at my funeral? So, I, 28 female, cannot have kids without death or serious injury and passionately do not want them. Nor does my husband. And no, before anyone assumes we're kid-hating monsters, we don't dislike kids. We have a combined total of 8 nieces and nephews, all of whom we love dearly. They just can't live in our house. My mother, bless her heart, is currently infected with baby rabies. Her friends keep getting grandkids, and the best I'm willing to do is dogs. Yesterday, I was talking on the phone with my mom, and she casually brings up how nice it would be to have a baby around. Now, I have a policy for people trying to pry about my reproductive affairs, and that policy is to make them as unfreaking comfortable as I can so they never ask again. My mom has never been on the receiving end, but she has seen me do it. The first time I'm like, nah, too much work, and they don't even get cute for like 3 years. Puppies are born cute and stay cute. But she kept pressing things like, dogs won't love you like kids do. And here's where I may be the a-hole. I snapped and said, well, if you want a baby that bad, I can make sure to put it in my will that you can hold it through my funeral. My mom just made a noise like a mouse being stepped on and hung up on me. She now is refusing to answer any of my text messages about anything. I might have overreacted, just a little, and she's my mom. So, am I the a-hole? Edit. Yes, my mom knows about the health conditions. I was born with them, and they've worsened over time. I'm very transparent about not being able to have / not wanting kids, but I do love the kids in my life. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You tried handling this with tact. Your mother pursued the topic and you told her exactly what would happen should you decide to ever have children. You would die. I don't see what she has to complain about when there are 8 other children running around. Why does she need a baby from you? I'm her only biological kid. She won't feel like a grandma till I pop one out apparently. Wow, that is very cold. Do your siblings know the stance that your mother has taken regarding biological grandchildren? No, my mom dotes on my siblings' kids. She adores them, really. Part of the 8 total are on my husband's side. And I have 2 half-siblings I didn't meet until I was 23, and they have kids. I'm on the same boat as you, so I'm going with a firm not the a-hole. What is it with people not respecting someone's choice and not having kids? Just because we are made to reproduce does not mean we should have to. The thing I hate most about people who don't accept the no are those who say, oh, you were young. Wait for your biological clock to kick. As if saying, okay, Barb, whatever you say. I'm going with not the a-hole on this. Yes, it was over the top, but I salute your willingness to commit to something like that. She's your mom, and she's seen you deal with this in the past. So I don't get how / why she would think it would go any other way. And why she'd twist a knife into you for something that more than likely hurts like hell when you learned it. It hurt a lot initially. I was devastated. Because in the area where I live, people usually start having kids pretty young, and everything has to be kid-friendly. But about the time nephews started coming, I realized that I really dislike taking care of babies. And by the time I got to college, I discovered how much fun it is to be the cool wine aunt. But every so often, it still hurts. Especially when my mom presses the issue. Edit. So, my mom did message me back and apologized. She'd also like us to come around 12 p.m. to tidy up the yard, and she's going to pay us with lunch and beer. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not getting to know my nephew and niece and not wanting to bring them into my home? I, 27 female, have an older sister, 28 female. We're 18 months apart in age. I have a 2-year-old son, she has a 5-year-old son, and a 3-year-old daughter. I have never met her kids. My sister and I never got along, and I'll be honest that I don't know why it started. Petty stuff more than likely, but I'll always remember that my sister wished I had never been born. She told me multiple times. She told my friends too. Our parents really hated it, and I remember all the times she would talk to us about not having to be best friends, but we should be respectful and not mean. We went to therapy, individually and together. They tried to get our cousins to help things, not by forcing time together, but by trying to encourage less hostility. When I graduated high school, she didn't show up, and she got a lot of crap for it. And then when she showed up at our cousin's graduation a week later, in a different city, she made her feelings very clear. That I should not have sent our family after her. I didn't, but she blamed me. And that if she hadn't been clear before that she never wanted me for her sister, she wished I had never been born, and everyone would have been better off without me around. I asked her what I ever did. She told me she didn't have to tell me anything and to leave her alone. So I did, and I have. She refused to bring her kids around me. She would give ultimatums to family. Either invite her and exclude me, or invite us both, but she would not be there. She had a fit at our grandmother's 70th birthday because Grandma wanted her to come anyway. And she showed up and wouldn't bring her son in, who was a baby at the time, because I was there. It seems now she has calmed a little. Our parents babysit for her, and they have shown me texts where she told them it was okay to have me around them. They ask, but I said no. I said no for 2 reasons. I know that she would stop that access at any time, for any reason, and I could do nothing about it. And I'm worried if she did that, it would hurt my son as he gets older and if he got to bond with him. I should also point out she had a very nasty response when my parents tried getting her to meet him. My parents don't get my refusal. They told me I should jump at the chance. Then a week ago, they asked me to watch the kids for 2 hours for them. I said no. I said I didn't feel comfortable with that. My parents tore me to pieces for not doing more to have a relationship with my niece and nephew, and that I should be ashamed. I am having some guilt about my decision. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You are under no obligations to rebuild bridges other people burned. Yeah, some people like walking with a can of gasoline spilling behind them and let match in their other hand. You do not need to put time and resources rebuilding the bridge when they will just burn it back down again. Not the a-hole. She has hurt you repeatedly in the past and damaged your relationship. It's entirely your choice whether you want to try repairing it or not. But honestly, given that she hasn't even offered an apology, it doesn't seem that it would be worth it. And your parents should stay out of it since you're a grown adult and can handle relationships yourself. She doesn't want to repair her relationship with me. She's just open to me meeting her kids. That is what partly worries me more. Would she use her kids to hurt me more? Probably. It's possible she just wants a free babysitter. Not the a-hole. Your sister is a toxic and manipulative woman. Parents as well in my opinion, but continually trying to force Opie to just get over it and pushing boundaries. This isn't run-of-the-mill sibling bickering. I'd bet Opie's sister would be livid if she found out Opie's mom tried to get her to babysit those kids alone. Like, it's great they got them into therapy, but they're nearing 30 now. And as inconvenient as it is for the rest of the family to have to deal with their unwillingness to even be under the same roof as each other, they need to stop trying to force it. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to share baby stuff with my stepsister because we're never going to know each other as sisters? Title sounds bad. My stepsister and I have been in each other's lives since we were 2, me and her 3. For the first decade, we primarily lived with each other in the household with our married parents. She saw her mom on occasion, but in general lived with me, mom, and stepdad. The times she was with her mom were pretty terrible because she would come back adamant to reject and hurt me. One time, she told me she hoped I would die, so her dad would let her live with her mom. My stepdad had her in therapy. Most of our time together was spent with some form of supervision because of how she treated me. When she was 15 then, she decided to go live with her mom and cut me off, even going to the length of ignoring me in school and acting like it didn't exist. When she was 19, she started speaking to my stepdad and mom again, and over time, me. But she never really stopped being passive-aggressive about us not being related. She would say I was her dad's stepkid, or say I was someone she knew through family when talking to other people. I admit it was hard because we could have been sisters, but she didn't want that or was taught not to want it. As luck would have it, we're now both pregnant at the same time. She's due about 3 weeks after me, and she's been trying to be all buddy-buddy while also saying things like, they're never going to know each other as cousins, and it's not like we're real sisters. So I think she's mostly trying to get free stuff. I ended up with a surplus of clothes because my partner has a huge family, and they all gave us a ton of newborn clothes. My stepdad was helping me box stuff up, and he mentioned it to my stepsister who wanted them. I said no. She said it was witchy for me to say no when I had too many to use. I told her I had already promised some to a friend, which was true. She told me family trumps friends. I said, we're never going to know each other as sisters, so we're not really family. And she laughed, but then told my stepdad what I said. He told me the fact she was asking said she was maybe ready to move forward. I told him it's not true. But am I wrong? Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Don't give her a thing. She's being manipulative. Yep. She can't treat you like crap for so long and then try to be all let's be friends. That's dumb. Don't give her the baby's clothes. Find a way to make it clear to your stepdad that she just wants stuff from you and tell him about her previous comments. Not the a-hole. Exactly. If she really wanted to be family and put her past behind her, she would first apologize, then try to build a relationship without trying to get free stuff from you to prove she's sincere. She's only after your stuff, not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. She's clearly trying to play you and your stepdad off against each other. This is a sad situation. It's obvious that her mother has been teaching her to hate you all her life, probably to get back at your stepdad for leaving, and now your stepsister is an adult. She either hasn't figured this out or can't be bothered to do anything about it. But that's not your issue. Regardless of the cause, she's a deeply toxic person for you to be around, and you're fully justified in limiting your contact with her as much as possible. Hopefully, she'll realize what's going on here and what it's costing her and do the work to deal with her toxicity. I wouldn't count on it though. Not the a-hole. She isn't ready to move on. She's ready to get free handouts. Exactly. Not the a-hole. You are perfectly entitled to enforce the boundaries she created and also give your things to people of your choosing. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my grandparents that they need to F off and stop asking when they're getting great grandchildren? My 17 female grandparents on my dad's side are obsessed with the idea of having great grandchildren. They generally ask and do a lot of things that make me uncomfortable, like asking about very personal things and constantly overstepping boundaries. I have two sisters, a younger one, 15, and an older one, 19. My dad cut contact with his parents when I was around 7 or 8, but after him and my mother divorced, he started talking to them again. My older sister invited them to her 19th birthday last year, and that was the first time we saw them in 8 years or so. My grandpa's a speech type of guy, or whatever you'd call it, so he wrote a speech to her. He included a joke in the speech that was something along the lines of, "Oh, and your grandma and I better get some great grandkids before we expire." I'm not even sure if she wants kids or not. Not that it's even any of my business, but I remember how uncomfortable she looked after my grandpa told that joke. Every time we've seen them since my sister's birthday, they've made some comments or conversation about great grandkids. My sister doesn't like confrontation, so she made my dad talk to them about how it makes her uncomfortable. It makes him uncomfortable too, lol. They told him they understood and that they'd stop doing it. But they didn't. I've also confronted them about it, but they always just laugh it off. They crossed the line completely 2 weeks ago. It was my birthday, and they had bought me a gift that they gave to my dad a few days in advance because they were going on vacation. When I opened the gift from them and read the birthday card, it said something that roughly translates to, "Now you're almost of age to give us those great grandkids your sister won't give us." As if my sister or I owe them anything. We don't owe them crap. My dad got really mad and called them on the phone. As soon as they picked up, I asked him if I could talk to them. He gave me the phone, and it was my grandma. She said, "Happy birthday, Cherimus. Did you like the gift?" I ignored what she said entirely and just started ranting and said, "You want to know something? I don't want kids. And if I ever do decide to have kids, I'm gonna adopt." She sounded completely shocked, as if it was completely natural for me to not want biological kids. She then proceeded to ask me if it was because I was gay. I told her to F off, and that it's messed up that they're so obsessed about great-grandchildren when my sisters and I, their grandchildren, are literally all still teenagers. Then I hung up and told my dad that if he was gonna call them back, he better not do it while I was there. I regret what I said to her, and that I haven't even thanked them for the gift yet. I'm just super embarrassed about how I talked to her. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Her retort asking if you were gay as the reason for not having children deserves a fiery response in kind. I see why your father went no contact for a while, and maybe you should follow his lead. I'm thinking about it, but I don't want to make them feel bad, especially because they're already really sad about missing out on so much of me and my sister's childhoods. And yes, the gay comment was really just the last straw for me. I'm thinking about it, but I don't want to make them feel bad. Then they should stop acting bad. There is a reason your dad went no contact, and you are seeing some of it now. Ask him about it, if it's not too touchy-feely subject. Not the a-hole. I actually laughed when I read that part. Sometimes people just need to be told leave you alone with a few curse words. Glad I could make you laugh, haha. And yeah, it's just... I don't know, on one hand I feel like they had it coming, but on the other hand I might have overreacted. WTF? Your sister is 19 and they're pushing kids? You are 17 and they're pushing? That's weird. I get that they're from another time or whatevs, but you really should not even think about having kids right now. And even if you were older, it's annoying and none of their business. They can wish grandchildren if they want, but there's no way this kind of pushing is okay. I'm so baffled because you're so young. Not the a-hole at all. Am I the a-hole for telling my mother she is the reason why I don't want a relationship with my siblings? I, 30 male, have 3 younger half-siblings through my mom. Because my mom had primary custody, I grew up with them and I was miserable because my mom has the siblings always share mentality, and I would be punished if I didn't want to. This was mainly an issue because only 2 of us have the same father, and whenever each of dads gave us something and the others wanted it, we would be expected to share. And because my dad was the most active in being a parent and had more money, my siblings always went after my stuff, sometimes without even asking, and I could never do anything about it without getting punished. There were times I didn't even get to play or use the things that my dad gave me because it wasn't my turn, and if my siblings broke or damaged it, my mom would shrug it off because things happen, and to just tell my dad to buy me a new one. This made me so angry, because not only did I feel like I could never have anything nice for myself, but my dad couldn't always afford to get me a replacement. He had more money than the other dads, but he wasn't rich. I remember being my happiest when I was with my dad and wanted to stay, but because he lived in another state and had a crazy work schedule, I could only be with him in the summers. Not only that, but I was made to feel bad if I ever voiced my displeasure living with my mom, because she was a single mom trying her best, and I was always provided for and never physically harmed, so I should just be grateful. It wasn't until I was 16 that my dad became fully established enough in his career that he was able to have a more flexible schedule, and was even able to move closer to me. He said that I was now at an age where I could decide, and said that he would welcome me with open arms. So when I went to visit him during a long weekend, I just never went back. It wasn't necessarily planned and my mom was upset, but I just didn't want to go back and my dad didn't make me. After that, I've been in low contact with my maternal side, only really seeing them on Thanksgiving, and for years, they swore my dad turned me against them. One day, my mom was complaining about how low down my father was, and something in me broke. I told her that my dad may not have been perfect, but he was the better parent because he respected my autonomy, and that it was her fault I didn't care about having a relationship with her other kids, while I'm close to my older sister through my dad. Now I'm getting chewed out. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. A woman who failed to ensure her kids respected each other's boundaries is complaining that the kid who was regularly on the losing end has set up a boundary? It's not surprising. Not the a-hole. This is so beautifully and eloquently put. I have nothing to add except my appreciation for the sentence. Not the a-hole. She attacked your father, a figure you respect, and you defended him and turned the attack on her. If she did not want her poor parenting brought up, she should not have attacked another parent. The funny thing is, in some divorces that have been bitter, the more bitter one, the one who happily badmouths the other will put a clause in the custody or divorce agreement that prevents their ex from saying a bad word about them to their kids. Not the a-hole. The thing is, when kids are forced to share, they usually start to resent the idea. But if kids are left to themselves, they usually end up just sharing what they have naturally. I don't remember my mom forcing me or my sister or brother to share their toys with me. We'd have a few toys that were ours, and we could play alone. But that usually got boring, so we'd find a sibling and they'd join in. My brother had a huge set of Lego, so when he brought that out, we'd all work together to build a town or some racetrack. We never had to share our bikes and had to ask the other sibling if a friend could use it. So I don't have big issues with sharing things if I left it to my own devices. I was a nanny for several years and used the same method. And 9 out of 10 times the kids would start out playing alone, then end up playing together with most toys. Me and my brothers had limited time allowed to play video games. We all naturally gravitated towards multiplayer games because if I used my time to play with them and they used theirs to play with me, we wound up getting to play 3 times as long. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom I won't be at her wedding? 18 months ago, my dad died, and then 9-ish months ago my mom and my uncle, Dad's brother, started dating each other. I, 17 female, will be 18 when they get married, and I decided pretty much from the start of their relationship that I wouldn't play a part in it. My older sisters both refuse to speak to our mom or uncle anymore, and they won't be going to the wedding either. But since I'm still technically a minor now, my mom thinks she can still make me go. She either doesn't remember that I will have already turned 18 when the wedding happens, or she just doesn't care. Either way, she keeps trying to engage with me on the wedding, has cried over minded my sister's lack of involvement, and how she hates being punished for being happy, how dad would want this for her. My oldest sister told her dad would be disgusted that his own brother and wife were shacking up. Our dad finds that kind of relationship weird, and we knew that for a long time. He was a vocal commenter when watching a movie or TV series. I think it's both knowing that my dad would hate it, knowing my mom has admitted to have feelings for my uncle when she was married to my dad, and the fact it has happened so fast that just makes it feel so disrespectful. I suspect my uncle had feelings for my mom long before this too, but he would never confirm that. So anyway, mom was bringing it up, and 3 nights ago I was like, screw this. She gets to hear again that I won't be there, and I would never be there. It turned into a fight, and she told me that she deserves better. My grandparents got involved because my mom told them about it, and they said I am a disrespectful little ungrateful brat. That mom deserves happiness, and no matter how less time it took, my dad is dead, and his memory is not more important than the wants/needs/feelings of the living. Am I the a-hole? Not an a-hole. Buy the happy couple a copy of Hamlet, and ask them if they're sure they want you involved. To be at the wedding or not to be at the wedding? That is the question. And the answer is no. Buzz off. Not an a-hole. The ick factor is high here. Were they having a relationship behind your dad's back? Not your circus, not your monkeys. Go have a lovely day out with your sisters on their big day. It definitely sounds like it, and the last sentence feels very much like the grandparents knew and felt she would be happier with your uncle rather than your dad. His memory is not more important than the wants/needs/feelings of the living. How about the wants/needs/feelings of their very much living grandchildren? I really hate your grandparents just reading this. You are grieving the loss of your father, and they're insulting you for perfectly understandable feelings. What horrid people they must be to not see or care about your pain. Your mother is entitled to find love and happiness again, yes. You and your sisters are equally entitled to have complicated feelings, need more time, and be flat out angry about the particular way your mom has moved forward with her life. Not to mention be upset that your mom is trying to bully and guilt you into suppressing your own emotions. Are your sisters in a position where you could move in with them? Or any other sane relatives? I think you need a plan for leaving your mom's house. Not stay home. Not stay home. Can you live with your sisters? I wish. In a couple of months, I would probably pack up and move to my oldest sisters. I want to wait until mom can't do much about it though, since my sister is a recent college graduate and she doesn't need my mom hauling her to court over custody matters. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for getting upset and asking my mom to pick me up? This happened last Friday night when I, 14 female, went to my dad's for visitation. My dad lives with his wife and my stepbrother who is my age, and my half-brother. We each have our own bedrooms, but I have learned that I can't really keep anything over there because it just disappears. Even hygiene products or extra pair of underwear disappear. I don't know what happens to them, and no one ever seems to know, but they get mad when I get mad that stuff I take is gone. I hate going over there because their house is always freezing cold. Even in the summer, my dad has the AC cranked. I told my mom this a few weeks ago, and she gave me an extra blanket to put on my bed at my dad's, and I hid it in my overnight bag. She just told me to make my bed there like normal, and no one would even notice it was on there and it wouldn't be bothered. Last Friday night, I got to my dad's, and when it was time to go to bed, the blanket was gone. I asked where it went, and my dad said my stepbrother was cold a few nights before, and took it off my bed to give to him. I was so mad. I said that I'm tired of never feeling like I am at home there because I can't have anything that belongs to me. My dad said, "You are a selfish brat, and in this family, we share." But he went and got the blanket from my stepbrother's room, and it was really gross. Like body fluids gross. I'm not stupid. I know it was on there. I was even more mad, and my dad just said to wash it and get over it. But it was like 11 p.m., and I had a soccer tournament the next morning early, so I didn't want to stay up and wash it, or lay awake shivering all night. My dad and stepmom went to bed, so I called my mom, told her what happened, and she picked me up. My dad didn't even notice I was gone until 2 the next afternoon, when he called yelling at me for leaving because he needed a babysitter for my baby half-brother. I told this to my friends, and half thinks I'm the a-hole for leaving and getting mad over a blanket, while the other half thinks I'm not the a-hole. For what it's worth, I did leave a note. My dad didn't read it, and a visitation is not a formal legal agreement. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. You should be able to expect a reasonable amount of privacy at your dad's. No wonder you don't like going over there if you can't have a basic level of respect. If your dad was so concerned about your stepbrother, you should have given him a blanket off his bed. That is what parents do, especially if kids are cold because of their decision to keep the AC up. Your dad owes you an apology, and a lock on your door which only you have the key to. Especially if you can't even keep underwear over there without them going missing. As a mom, I don't even want to imagine WTF is happening to them. Yeah, the underwear part really bothers me as well. To me, it says run away screaming. Not the a-hole. The whole post was a clear not the a-hole, because you should be able to feel welcome at your home, and that right was taken away by your possessions being stolen. Your dad was being an a-hole by claiming in this family we share, which is obviously a one-sided concept. And to top it all off, he admits that he was going to force you to babysit, displaying his true ulterior motives. Glad you're back with your mom now. The reason why the visitation is informal in the first place is because he hasn't really been very involved in my life until he remarried, and his wife wants a big happy family, and wants a babysitter. Up until a year ago, I was mostly spending every other weekend with his parents who actually do want to spend time with me. Not stay home. Your underwear goes missing and your stepbrother whacked off into your blanket? That's creepy. And when you complain about it, you are the problem. Something is not right in that house. Don't leave anything there ever. And I wouldn't want you to be alone with a stepbrother, frankly. That your dad sees no problem here is also a problem. You are not the a-hole. I avoid my stepbrother at all costs. Him and his friend accidentally walked in on me showering one day, and I know I locked the bathroom door because it makes my skin crawl. But when I went to my dad and stepmom about it, they got mad at me for calling my stepbrother a perv, and said I must not have locked the door, and it's natural to be curious anyway. But it clearly wasn't an accident if he pulled back the curtain, so they try to frame it as a prank. Okay, sure. Really funny. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my stepson out to his mother's? My first husband died when my biological son, 14 male Chris, was 7. I kept a box of precious mementos including his class ring that I gave to Chris. It means a lot to him, and he always wears it on a necklace, only taking it off at night to sleep. I eventually remarried when Chris was 10 to his stepdad, Martin, and gained a brother, Torin, 16 male. Martin has joint custody with his ex, but Torin spent more time with us after the marriage. Now, me and Torin don't have the best relationship. Try as I might, he's never taken to me and has never liked me, and has told me to my face that I can't replace his mom, and sometimes he's rude to me. Things aren't that great between him and Chris either, as they are always arguing and Torin likes to pick on Chris. There's also been a few times Torin was supposed to make sure Chris got home from football practice, but instead forgot and left Chris stranded without telling anyone, and he's been forced to walk home a few times because of it. Luckily, we don't live too far from the school, but it's still almost an hour-and-a-half walk. A lot of times, Martin lets these things slide and tells me it's just a normal brother's thing, or that Torin is still getting used to me, and I usually leave it alone, until recently. In the last week, Chris lost his dad's ring. We looked for it everywhere and couldn't find it. Chris has been in literal tears since he lost it. Today after school, Torrin and his boyfriend were hanging out outside and it was getting late. So I went outside to tell him it was time for his boyfriend to go home. Torrin looked shocked when I came outside, and I immediately noticed why, because Torrin's boyfriend was wearing my late husband's ring. Torrin has apparently stolen it and given it to his boyfriend. When I confronted them, his boyfriend didn't even know it wasn't Torrin's, and Torrin had told him it was his dad's. Pissed, I couldn't deal with this any longer, and since his dad wasn't home to deal with him, Martin's away on a business trip, I told him to pack his things and I dropped him off at his mom's house. His dad called an hour ago saying I was being too hard on him, and his mom thinks I'm overstepping and doing more than necessary. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. I don't think this is an overreaction at all. His almost adult son has told you that he doesn't look at you as a stepmother or authority figure. You took him to someone who he does see that way. Please tell me you got the ring back. I don't think you went far enough. I would have gotten the police involved. P.S. Please keep that box of precious mementos secure in a safety deposit box or something, in case Torrin decides to retaliate. I think it's better Son has a lockbox/safe in his own room so he doesn't feel it's not his home, if that makes sense. Not being able to keep his father's things with him might make him start thinking about when he gets his own place/stop thinking of where he is as a homely place he can relax. Obviously, living with someone who's bullying him is already a problem, and having to lock valuables away won't help. But at least he'll have them near him and be able to look whenever. Not today home. He stole your son's ring knowing it was important and gave it away to someone else. He is the a-hole. You didn't mistreat him, but sent him to his mother's place. It's not a harsh punishment at all to remove him so he doesn't bully your son. You have a right to hold him accountable as his guardian of the moment. If you are not his guardian, then you were also right to send him to his mom. You have more problems than his stealing and behavior if your husband doesn't think anything wrong happened, or that there shouldn't be any serious consequences for disrespecting his stepbrother. He doesn't respect or care about your son. Absolutely not the a-hole, but your husband is the a-hole for not stepping up and letting it get to this point. Your son should be just as much as his now, and him having to walk an hour and a half because his stepson forgot? Unacceptable. Should have had a very serious talk with him about responsibility then. Now he's stealing from his brother, prized possessions no less, causing him great distress and thinks it's okay to give them away? A line's been crossed, and right now your son needs you to be his advocate because who knows what else he's been putting up with from him, especially at school away from supervision. Even if it means pushing back against your husband. Really feel for the kid. Edit. Both his mom and dad think you're overreacting after he desecrated your late husband's belongings? Shows exactly where he's getting it from. Wouldn't move an inch on this until there's an apology and some serious changes. Otherwise, you've got bigger problems looming. Would I be the a-hole for possibly kicking out a family from a home that was illegally sold to them? My father passed away a few years ago, and my adopted mom's, who is old and has dementia, relatives sold my father's and mom's house for half of the value with everything inside in a rush sale. I did not know the law at that time, and was told by my mom's relatives that my father had no will, so everything automatically went to my mom and her family. I came across an article that in that country, that when a person dies without a will, their heirs/children automatically inherit the estate. The estate cannot be sold without all heirs agreeing. If it is sold, the sale will be void. I have contacted a lawyer and it was true. I can get the house back by simply showing my birth certificate. Also, because my mom has dementia, she is not capable of doing a sale. The lawyer went to meet with my mom on my behalf to ask a few questions about the sale of the house. Her relatives heard everything, then started attacking me online and making nasty posts about me. How I was going to kick a family out of a house because of pure greed, and that I already have a house in USA, and I'm greedy to have another house. They threaten that they will get the new owners to sue me, etc. My mom's relatives don't work and use the money of the sale of the house for their own benefit. So not only will they have to return all the money, the new owners of the house will now have to look for somewhere else to live, which they can no longer afford a house because the house was sold for half of the market value. And that is what they will be getting back. Would I be the a-hole for possibly kicking them out? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You're a victim here too. Your mom's family not only lied to you, but they sold and profited from something that was rightfully yours. All you are doing is undoing something that should never have been done in the first place. It's unfortunate this family will lose their home, but this is not your fault. Edit: Mom's family are the a-holes, not Opie's mom. The family who bought it cannot claim to be an innocent buyer, because what they paid for was half of the value of the house. It was also not done with a proper agent, just Mom's relatives. So at the same time, I think the family who bought it should have known something fishy was going on. I completely agree with you. The sale would have been full of red flags. Yet the buyer chose to ignore every one of them and go ahead with the purchase. It's the age-old saying, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. They should have done their research and protected themselves by insisting on going through the proper channels. Shockingly, this kind of stuff happens all the time. I used to do proper management, and there would constantly be people renting houses where the landlords are in the process of getting evicted and don't tell the tenants. Wild. Not today, Hull. If it is me, I would proceed to claim back that house, and at the same time, together with that family, sue the relatives for fraud. They have to pay back that family the money and also compensation. I don't think it would be a good idea to team up with the buyers. They bought a house for half market value from family friends without a real estate agent or any other good faith attempts to follow any real regulations in relation to the sale. This would have otherwise been uncovered before sale went through. Yes, if they have evidence, they were acting in some good faith, but I doubt it. They should absolutely also sue the family who sold it to them. I just don't think Opie should join them. Opie should absolutely take them to the cleaners for emotional damages and any and all needed repairs to the house. As they legally sold all their stuff as well, there should be compensation for that too. If someone stole a wedding ring, then it was sold and turned up on someone else's finger, should it not be returned to the original person? Not today, Hull. Stolen goods are always returned to the rightful owner. Added to add, help the family sue your relatives. They stole from your mother as well, and you should make sure they pay for that. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my grandfather's flute to my stepsister? My 14 female paternal grandfather, 77 male, recently passed away. He left me flute and 50,000 rupees in his will. He left my stepsister, 16 female, 75,000 rupees. My grandfather and I were very close, whereas my stepsister and him barely spoke. The flute is very meaningful to him and to me, as he has been playing it since he was 12, and he started teaching me how to play it when I was 4. This flute is a family heirloom from the 1400s, and it was apparently gifted to my family by a South Indian king, so it is very important to my family. My stepsister is mad that he gave the flute to me instead of her, even though she doesn't play the flute. She received more money than I did, and she wasn't close to my grandfather. She told me that she would give me 25,000 rupees for the flute, but I refused, as it is a very sentimental item, and I hope to pass it on to a daughter/son of my own someday. My stepsister started crying, called me a selfish witch, and told me to piss off. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Just to clarify, she and her mother have been living with us since August of last year, and her mother married my father in January of this year. My grandfather passed away in April. The flute is made of bamboo, and it works perfectly well. It is a traditional Hindu flute. It has a carved peacock feather design. Not the a-hole. You should safeguard your flute because she seems the type to steal or break it for spite. She's not even a blood relative. Yep, lock it up in a safe deposit box if you can. I've read too many posts of family members not getting to use some other family member's possession and then taking it. Or put it in a museum on loan. Still belongs to Opie, but it's safe as hell and can be admired. Not a a-hole. Wills exist to ensure that assets and belongings go to who they're intended to. Your sister should respect your grandfather's final wishes. She is being selfish, and given the history of the flute and her lack of sentimental attachment to it, she will likely sell it, and for much more than she's offering you. Make sure that you have it appraised, insured, keep it locked away in your home, and of course, play it in honor of your grandfather's memory. Not a a-hole. You are definitely not a a-hole. Opie, you should safeguard your flute. Is there any adult in your maternal or paternal side who would side with you? Stepsister is acting way too entitled, and I'm worried she may try to steal or break the flute. My dad and grandmother are siding with me, and they're trying to fix the situation. How is your dad's wife handling it? My dad's wife is trying to reason with my stepsister. She's overseas for work, so there's not much she can do right now. Update. I've locked the flute in my cupboard. I'm not going to keep it in a safety deposit box because I play it often. Update 2. I'm going to ask my dad if I can keep it in a safety deposit box. Thank you all so much for the advice. I really appreciate it. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for ruining my sister's vacation by not going to Hawaii? I, 24 female, live in California, while my sister, 29 female, lives overseas. She loves to travel and also loves California, so she's been dying to come here for the past year. She's finally coming here in June. This will be the first time I've seen her, and hell, even talked to her, since December 2018. On that note, I don't really get along with her, and I'm not super excited she's coming here. Growing up with her was hell, because she always demanded things go her way, and would have screaming fits, even in her 20s, unless we do things her way. From a young age, I was in charge of micromanaging everything to make sure everything's well for her, and it was exhausting. Because of that, I don't think she's ever learned to compromise. She visited California twice in 2018, and both times she stayed with me in my apartment. And it was complete hell. She treated me like I was a guest in my own apartment, insulted me and my friends multiple times, would have fits if I didn't want to do something she wanted to. She also borrowed my car and put 1,000 miles on it in 2 weeks, put 87 when it needed 89, and went through a toll road without telling me, so I had to pay the penalties. It was complete hell having her over. She was supposed to visit in June 2019 for my college graduation, but cancelled after I told her she couldn't use my car. Anyway, I'm already getting in trouble by my parents for not letting her stay in my apartment or use my car while she's here in June. They're trying to say that it's been a rough year for her, spousal issues and custody drama, and she deserves a break. I'm finally standing my ground and saying no. She texted me asking if I could go to Hawaii with her or San Francisco, and I told her no. Not only do I not want to take time off of work for her, I'd rather spend my time off with my boyfriend or friends. But because last time I took a trip with her, she promised to split the hotel room, and I ended up paying the full price of the trip. Both her and my parents are calling me an a-hole for not wanting to go with her to Hawaii or another trip. I still don't want to go, but maybe I'm being insensitive to everything she's been through. I just know it'll be drama if I go. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. I tell your sister and parents that you've spent enough effort in the past trying to play hostess to your sister, and you seem to have never lived up to her standards, so you'll pass on yet another opportunity to let her down. If your parents are so concerned about you providing sister with a quality experience, then maybe they should insert themselves into the situation and take care of it all themselves. It sounds like they like her more than you, or you wouldn't have had such a bad childhood/life. Sorry, not sorry. No parent is a good one if they let a child grow up like they let her and force it on you. Agreed. And this might be a low blow. But if she's never learned how to compromise, throw tantrums and basically rock the boat until she gets her way, I wonder why she currently has marriage issues. Time for Opie's sister to finally grow up. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Your sister is really toxic, and your parents are enablers for her behavior. Since she is a hassle, you should tell her that you can go on the trip if your sister pays you $20,000 up front of whatever she owes you for your stress. Or, if you want a slightly gentler approach, calculate how much she owes you for the previous hotel room, petrol, wear and tear, tolls and penalties, room and board at your apartment, any lunches, etc. you paid for, and give her the bill. You'll go on holiday with her when that's paid, plus the future holidays. But still don't go. You don't have to hang out with someone you don't like just because they are family. Don't be an a-hole to yourself. Not an a-hole. Ask yourself, why is it she doesn't have any of her own friends that would love to go to Hawaii with her? Why is it always you that has to deal with her? I'd say your parents knew from a young age she'd struggle without siblings, and think simply because you're born to the same people you should stick by her no matter what. Your sister and her happiness isn't your responsibility. So don't feel like you should be pressured into being miserable so she can be happy. I mean, she has friends, but she lives like thousands of miles away. We're also from the Middle East, where women need guardians, father or husbands regardless of age, permission to travel, and not a lot of people's fathers/husbands allow them. But yeah, I don't know if she doesn't like to travel with them because she can't bully them to do whatever she wants like she does to me. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not paying for completed services I didn't ask for? Lawn care. I woke up this morning to the wonderful sound of a lawnmower and cleanup being done. Living in a residential neighborhood, I didn't think anything of it. I rolled over and tried to go back to sleep. About 20 minutes later, I hear my doorbell ring, so check my camera and there's an individual at the door. I figure it's the guy asking adjacent neighbors if they would like services done, as is pretty common, and I go downstairs to speak to him. When I open the door, he says good morning, and then lets me know that it was a little less work than he coded, so it would be $40 and not the $50. And as soon as I open the gate, they could start on the back. In my confusion, I step outside, and sure enough, my front lawn was mowed, edged, and cleaned up. I let him know that they must have got the wrong house because I do my own work and they may have gotten the address wrong. There is some back and forth. He shows me the paperwork. It's indeed my address. And I notice the number is not mine. At this point, still very calm, to which I commend him. He says all the information is correct, and I let him know that the number isn't mine, and he can call it if he wants to confirm. He obliges, goes to his truck and gets on the phone. There appears to be some conversation. He looks towards my address plate, more talking, hangs up and comes back to speak to me. He lets me know that the homeowner that ordered the services gave the wrong address. So I apologize for the inconvenience, and I'm about to go back inside when he then asks that I complete the payment for the services. I inform him that I didn't ask for it, and that he should be more diligent in ensuring properties match work orders before completing services. And he counters with telling me that the owner said they wouldn't be home and the back would be unlocked, probably why he knocked on my door to begin with. He then tells me I was very rude for not stopping them. I was asleep for pretty much all of it, and that it was a very mean trick to play. Am I the a-hole for not paying or giving them some kind of compensation? Not the a-hole. He counters with telling me the owner said they wouldn't be home. If he knew that, then why did he knock on the door instead of calling the client's number? Well, the gate that was supposed to be unlocked was not, so it wouldn't be crazy to assume that the owner's plan had changed and try knocking before calling them. But which is more likely? That the owner forgot to unlock it and still isn't home, or that plans changed and they're home completely ignoring the work being done, and therefore ignoring the loud enough to wake the homeowner reminder to unlock the gate? Seems to me like the former is more likely and would require a phone call. Not saying it's absolutely a scam, just that it doesn't add up logically and smells kind of fishy. Not the a-hole. Tell them to go after the person who actually ordered services for payment. Right? Go do the job you meant to do, and then charge the extra to the actual customer for the screw-up. Or just swallow it and charge no one for the screw-up. Not the a-hole. At this point, his next move should have been to wish you a good day, apologize for the confusion, and charge the initial requester double for the duplicate service due to incorrect information. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom's husband he needs therapy when he tried to guilt me into letting him walk me down the aisle? My mom married her husband James 3 years ago. I, 25 female, was not living with my mom at the time, nor will live in the same state, so I haven't really interacted with him a lot. I got engaged during lockdown last year. We are planning to get married when everything is safe again. I asked my mom if she would walk with me. She said yes. Everything was good. Then James approached me about 2 months ago saying he would like to walk me down the aisle. That he knows he can't replace my dad, but he loves me and my mom, and would love to feel the father of the bride role so I can have someone in it. I told him my mom was filling the parent of the bride role, and that made me happy. He pushed a little, told me it made more sense for him to do it. I said no. My mom told me he had just wanted to make the suggestion because he felt maybe I would prefer it. I didn't want to fight, so I left it alone. Then he came to me again. He talked about how he lost both his girls. His wife and daughters died almost 20 years ago, and how much it would mean for him to be accepted into that role and would give him the chance to do that with another daughter. He told me even if I don't want it, would I do that for him, so he would have some healing and a chance to be in the role with someone. I said no again, and he told me I must be very cold to know what it's like to lose a father, to do that to someone who lost both his children and is reaching out and offering to do it for you. I told him maybe he needs therapy if it's so hard, and he's so caught up in the loss of them that he can't see me as my own person, and as someone who would want my remaining parent to walk with me and fill that role. He was offended I would make that suggestion. My mom then bent over apologizing after she heard what happened. I guess she hadn't known the whole thing from before. He's still, I want to say salty, but he's still offended and thinks I overstepped. Did I? Am I the a-hole? And before anyone asks, my fiancé and I are paying for the wedding ourselves, and he is not contributing to anything. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. He told me even if I don't want it, would I do that for him? Huh? You barely know the guy and he told you to disregard your own feelings on your own wedding day? Tell him to GTFO. What is he on? What kind of man has the audacity to ask a woman he barely knows to turn her wedding into his personal therapy session? Does he really believe that a 45-second walk with a stranger is going to cure him? Why is he asking her to give up what she has planned on an incredibly important day just to cater to his wants? He could have slapped her face and said, "You mean nothing. I'm the only person that matters in this world," and it would have the same effect. If only we had a word to perfectly describe this kind of person. Oh wait, narcissist. Not only is the OP not an a-hole, but she actually made an astute observation that her stepfather is indeed in need of therapy to unpack and process some of his feelings of grief and loss that he has obviously not dealt with sufficiently. Okay, y'all are starting to get a little carried away with the insults. Obviously, OP is not a-hole, but that's because she's 100% correct. What kind of man has the audacity to ask a woman he barely knows to turn her wedding into his personal therapy session? The kind in desperate need of therapy. No, OP's wedding is not the place, obviously. But God knows there are few kinds of trauma more damaging than loss of a child. And I say this as the child of 2 dead parents. 1 cancer, 1 self-deletion. Both before I graduated college. I've gone to therapy, and I'm still hurt. But man, the thought of losing 1 child, let alone 2, rocks me to my core. Trauma like that puts you in a headspace that makes clear lucid thought a cruel joke. He can only see himself there because he is deeply, deeply traumatized from all the hours, days, years spent sleeplessly imagining all the moments he could have shared with his kids. Cut him some slack before he gets too mean with the name calling. He really does need therapy though. Not the a-hole. My dearest cousin JK lost both her parents when she was in her early 20s. When we heard the news that she was getting married, my parents RM and V had a long discussion with each other and decided they would be graciously willing to play the roles normally reserved for parents, hosting the rehearsal dinner, giving speeches, walking the bride down the aisle. So they called JK, and she was simply speechless. Finally, after regaining her composure, she gently told them they weren't even invited to the wedding. Not the a-hole. If you guys were really close or he's married to your mom for let's say 10 plus years, cool. But he overstepped here, and instead of backing down, he starts to guilt trip you? Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for being upset that my stepdad left me with nothing? My dad passed away when I was 10. I was very close to him, a real daddy's girl. When he passed away, I was devastated. 3 years after his death, my mom remarried my stepdad. While my stepdad was nice to me and my younger siblings, I did not see him as a father. I saw him as my mom's husband. When I was 17, he asked to adopt me, and I declined. I did not want him to replace my real father, but my younger sisters had no such problem. Because of that decision, I've always felt like he has tried to subtly punish me for not agreeing to the adoption. He has excluded me from many things. When my younger sisters graduated high school, he did a father-daughter trip with them to celebrate, and he didn't do so for me. When they graduated college, he attended their graduations. He did not attend mine as he was feeling unwell, although he never specified what he came down with. He posted multiple times on social media about how proud he was about their achievements, but he has never done so for me. When I got married, I chose to walk down the aisle alone. My stepdad didn't say anything, but I know he was upset as he privately complained to my mom, and she tried to get me to change my mind. After my wedding, he was completely silent on social media. He congratulated me and my husband one time, and then just seemed to forget about it. When my 2 younger sisters got married, he was full of pride and happiness and posted so many pictures, selfies, and long paragraphs about how beautiful the ceremonies were, how wonderful my sisters looked, etc. I always thought that I was overthinking and that these actions could be explained away. At the beginning of 2020, My stepdad was diagnosed with an aggressive terminal illness and he passed away last month. During his last days, he did not want to see me, but he did want my sisters and my mom by his side. I was the only one singled out. I respected his wishes, but it hurt so much. When he passed away, he left handwritten letters for my sisters and nothing for me. My younger sister was his favorite, got over 20 handwritten letters from him, and a special engraved necklace from him. I didn't even get one letter. I feel so hurt. Am I the a-hole for feeling this way? I tried to talk to my husband about this, and he says I'm making my stepdad's death all about myself. I want to talk to my sisters about this, but my husband says it is selfish to do so as they are all grieving. I feel so deeply hurt. Sorry, but you're the a-hole. You kind of excluded yourself. Your siblings were happy to have him as their father. You declined. When my younger sisters graduated high school, he did a father-daughter trip with them to celebrate. Because they had a father-daughter relationship. I did not see him as a father. Your siblings did, so they got him as a father. You got him as my mother's husband, which is how you chose to get him. You excluded him from the father role at your wedding. It doesn't seem like your siblings did. So they got the happy father experience. Again, something you declined. Chose your own path. I mean, he literally asked Opie if he could be her father via adoption, and Opie said no. He wasn't subtly punishing Opie for saying no. He was accepting what she told him about their relationship. She kept reinforcing that lesson, and now she's surprised he didn't think of her as a daughter in spite of her literally telling him not to think of her as a daughter? Yeah, you're the a-hole. I don't understand this position. He asked his stepdaughters while they were children if he could adopt them. Then, he tangibly rewarded the stepdaughters that agreed, and iced out the one that didn't. He was the fully formed adult. He should have treated them all the same relationship with all stepdaughters, adoption or not. Sure, he might be closer to the others, but that is a different issue. Also, sounds like the Opie's mother went along with it. Mom may be the a-hole. We see the opposite on the sub all the time. An Opie vents on the sub about how their step-parents won't respect their boundaries and keeps pushing for a parent-child relationship. This step-parent took Opie at her word and backed off. Opie said did not see him as her dad. Her sisters did. Why would he keep trying to do father-daughter things with a 17-year-old who told him that he is not her dad? You're the a-hole. He asked if he could adopt you, which is him taking you under his wing as a real daughter. You declined, so why should he care for you as if you were his daughter? It's not his duty to take care of you or even care for you if you refused his offer of parentage. You deserve nothing, and you got nothing. Move on. Would I be the a-hole if I say I don't want a father-daughter dance with my stepdad? I'll try and keep this brief because I see similar posts have been posted lately. I'm 24 female, I'm getting married. I asked my mom and stepdad to walk me down the aisle. I said I didn't want a father-daughter dance with him, but offered a spotlight dance for the two of them. They were not happy with that. He asked me if I would ideally like one with my mom, and I was honest that, yeah, I would. But I was trying to be sensitive to everyone's want, so compromising. He went away hurt. My mom told me I should reconsider. She told me it was rude. They went back to me about 2 weeks after the initial discussion and said a spotlight dance for them did not make up for the snub of no father-daughter dance. And especially when it's not that I don't want a parent-bride dance, but I don't want one with him. They told me we needed to discuss it more, so we did. Which I kind of regret now because it was a rehash of the same stuff over and over again. The other night, my mom called and said I need to give this more thought and reconsider doing it. She said that I could have one with each of them, and that would make everyone happy instead of them having a spotlight dance. She said he has raised me since I was 8 and has been a good father figure to me, and has supported and loved me most of my life. All of this is true, but, and I know this will likely be what sways some people, he was always second best to me in terms of my longing and grief for my dad who died 8 months before he and my mom got married. He could just never take that role. I'm not sure anyone could, because my dad was amazing. He loved and supported me, encouraged me to follow my dreams, thought of me right up until the very end. He left letters and videos for me to mark every milestone he would miss as well as other things. I have so much love and some great memories of my dad. And I just never found that kind of love for my stepdad. It's not that I don't appreciate him being there for us, and I know he tried, but I never felt even half of what he feels for me. It's part of the reason I never let him pay for college, though he offered. Because I didn't want to feel like I was taking advantage of someone's love for me when that love is not reciprocated. So now I don't know. I could say I have changed my mind, but in truth, I don't want to dance with him. If I had my wish, it would be for my mom, and just my mom to walk me down the aisle. But she would never consider that. Would I be the a-hole if I say I don't want a father-daughter dance with him as my final thoughts on the matter? Now for the comments. No a-holes here. You feel how you feel, but I can also understand why you would be hurt. Yeah, I get it. Not the a-hole. You've already compromised your wedding by having them both walk you down the aisle, which most people view as the most important parent-bride part. While the dance is lovely, I don't think it's as maybe important. Like, if it was missing from a wedding, it would not be as noticed, while a bride not being walked down the aisle would be more noticeable. I don't think you need to compromise further, and I have moved this judgment into the a-hole territory, because despite already getting to both walk you down the aisle, they are requesting more from you on your wedding. No a-holes here. You can't help the way you feel, and if you tried explaining how you feel and why you feel that way, he should try his best to accept it, even if it may be hurtful. I'm not telling you what to do, but maybe at this point nix the parent dances altogether so no one person is jealous or hurts over another. It is your day, and you can do whatever you want. A biological parent figure is something no step-parent can fully replace, even if they are loving and the best step-parent ever. The dance with my mom isn't happening anyway. I knew it would be off the table, so I just suggested they do one together. It only came up because he asked me directly. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my 3 sisters out of my wedding after they came with their kids? My wife and I got married 2 weeks ago. We wanted a child-free wedding, so we've let everyone know. My family /in-laws /friends and relatives, and everyone was okay with it. Except for my family. I have 3 sisters all with kids from 2 to 10. My mom said it was illogical to not allow kids since 1, this never happened in the family, and 2, my sisters live towns away so the kids can't be left alone. After a lot of arguing and others getting involved, I stood my ground and they agreed to not bring kids. At the wedding, no one brought kids. My parents and aunts were already there, but then I saw my 2 sisters arriving with their kids. I immediately went to ask what's the deal. They began arguing with me when I said I won't be letting them in with the kids. Then I saw my older sister came with her kids in the car. I was pissed. I asked why they decided to go against the rule and bring kids. My mom started yelling at me when I told my sisters they weren't allowed in with the kids. Everyone was yelling at me. I had to get the security involved to make them leave. My parents and aunts left shortly after. They were so pissed at me, and I got nasty texts later and my cousin posted about my crappy wedding on Facebook. Days later, I've gathered a family and explained what they did was wrong. I asked if I allowed my sisters with their kids, what message that sent to my in-laws and friends who wanted to bring kids but they couldn't. My sisters argued with me, and it turned out my mom told them to bring their kids and should deal with me later. I told them they could have arranged for a babysitter, but my mom said they wanted to celebrate as a whole family. Said that I ruined my own wedding by making a scene, and everyone will always remember my wedding as a disaster. A crap show because of mine and my wife's child-free bull. They said the only way to fix it is to have another wedding/party and include everyone, especially kids. I called them unreasonable. I asked Mom where the hell she got the nerve to even demand that. They blamed my wife and claimed it was deliberate. I left. They started talking to my wife, trying to convince her that they don't approve of what happened, and that they're giving us the chance to fix the situation, otherwise their relationship is damaged. This caused me a headache, and I don't think what I did was wrong. I just want them to have some respect for my wife and her family. Not today, Hole. Your wedding. You set the rules and the guest list. Kids weren't on it. They broke the rules intentionally and they suffered the consequences. Stand your ground. Exactly. Do not throw that second party. Because it only sent a message that you were wrong and they were right, and you shouldn't have held a child-free wedding. Don't argue about it anymore. Just do the broken record thing. Keep repeating you knew the rules and guest list. You intentionally broke your word when you said you weren't going to bring the kids. It's not my fault you face the consequences of your own actions. Just keep repeating that over and over again, no matter what they say. Not day hall, but do throw a second party. At the second party, don't invite mother or sisters. If you want to, invite their kids, with the condition they, mom and sisters, are still not invited. Not day hall, and your family's massively crappy. I'm betting this isn't the first time they've tried to bully you to get their way. Tell them to pound sand. Exactly. The fact that they agreed to the no kids rule but did it anyways just screams they think they're better than everyone else, and above the rules. Not day hall. You asked them beforehand to not bring kids, and they did anyway. Also, kids count as regular guests for weddings, and it's not cool to bring people that's not invited, especially when you have to pay per person for food, chairs, etc. Right. That in itself is an issue that I didn't have the chance to explain to them.